political spectrum, you're going to have concerns about what happens post a slaughterhouse overruling. If you're liberal, you're going to be concerned with economic and property rights being revived. If you're conservative, privacy and extensions of that, abortion and everything else. And if you're libertarian, positive rights, welfare, healthcare, etc. So, this is a potential Pandora's box that could be opening. How do the panelists address, what the standard is for the court to be reading in, what are these protected rights that come into privileges or immunities? And I should say, by way of full disclosure, I actually have an article coming out in the Georgetown Journal of Law and Public Policy trying to answer this question in January with my co-author Josh Blackman here. But I'd like to hear what y'all think.
I mean, I'm not sure if the Privileges and Immunities Clause revolves, suddenly this 75, 135 years of precedence kind of struggling with the question of what is a fundamental right suddenly just is out the window. I mean, I think that's still going to be sort of the question, is what are the fundamental rights of citizens? And so the court, I think, still has to look at that and still has to grapple with that. Two, I would certainly, as I probably argued only a few minutes ago, I would look to sort of what are the sets of issues that the framers cared about. I think that establishes a solid basis for protecting rights of heart and home, rights of bodily integrity. Randy will emphasize how it protects economic rights. I mean, so I think that material is out there. I mean, a third possibility, which perhaps Justice Ginsburg has already done in her Carhart dissent, is to sort of say, citizenship, means something. It means sort of a set of participatory rights. And perhaps she's grounding it in equal protection, but her argument there is, women can't be equal citizens and can't be citizens if they don't have reproductive rights. So, perhaps that's going to be a set of arguments. But, I think we're going to have a lot of work to do to try and figure out and grapple with some of these metrics.
I think the real question is whether the very two-sidedness that you're describing means we're not going to see 5 votes ready to do this, because each of the justices is going to be concerned about the implications on one side or the other.
Yeah, but I don't have this word, right? Good luck, guys.
But assume it happens.
Presumably, I really think for the reasons just stated, the court is quite likely, for prudential reasons, to want to take the narrow route and not the broad route. It limits its discussion to incorporation of the Bill of Rights, due to the fact that I think you're quite right. I mean, I think that's quite perceptive. The Pandora's box that can open if you start talking about general fundamental rights that could be positive as well as negative. So I think there are prudential reasons that they might take the narrow route, and I just think that also has the happy circumstance of being the proper route.
I think it would be completely arbitrary for the court to simply say it's the Bill of Rights. I think that what the court needs to do, and what I think the court will try to do, I hope it will try to do, is first to define the meaning of this term. And once you have that definition, then you apply it in this particular case. The particular case here is the right to arms. Future cases will decide these future rights. I'm not here to litigate every single possible unenumerated right. Senator Howard couldn't describe them. Justice Washington couldn't describe them. I can't describe them either. There are some textual historical sources, though, that I think people might want to look at. Corfield is a good place to start. The committee report on Reconstruction is another one, where the Joint Committee on Reconstruction was outlining the various problems in the South. Those might be things that were trying to be resolved by the 14th Amendment. And of course, there may be other sources that people look to. But I do think that it's not a completely out of thin air doctrine. I think it's a textual doctrine, one that's rooted in history. And if we look at text and history, we can discover some, I think, fairly obvious unenumerated rights. And I'll just add real quickly, even the most diehard opponents of substantive due process will find at least one substantive due process case that they happen to personally favor. We saw this, Judge Wilkinson, for example, wrote this article very critical of the Roe opinion, and he said, well, of Heller, he said, Heller's just like Roe, it's terrible, this is all made up. And then, of course, here are 4 cases under substantive due process that I like. And he listed them: Skinner versus Oklahoma, Meyer, of course, was one of them, and I forget the others right now. But the point is that everyone knows that there are some rights that are unenumerated and are there. The question is, where are they in the Constitution? And once we identify the source, how do we discover them? That's really beyond that last part is beyond the scope of this case.
Just a very quick